Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Step Up, Make a Difference podcast. I'm Mike Peacock, along with my co-host and my friend and my mentor and my comedy buddy and my trivia buddy, whatever else title you want to put on there, Coach Dr. Marty Durden. Marty, how are you doing this week?
I am doing great. It's just so much fun to be here to start off the week with Step Up. It is really invigorating.
Absolutely. I look forward to this every week, but I am, as you can tell, I am outdoors, and I'm not sure that's a smart idea. We are visiting my in-laws in Tallapoosa County, Alabama, and I'm in the shade, and there's a little bit of a breeze blowing, but it is not cool by any means. So doing a little experiment here, but loving it, loving being outside, loving being out in the country a little bit, but Marty, we've got a great guest today that is tremendously well known, especially around the Chattahoochee Valley area, but really all around the Southeast and even nationwide. And from his exploits as a player and moving into the broadcast world and sort of a big time media person now across a lot of different genres, I guess, or a lot of different avenues of media, and that is one DJ Jones from Columbus. And DJ, welcome in this afternoon, man. We're so glad you could join us. As we were talking before the show started, we're all kind of part of the same big family now, as Sportsvisions has birthed Georgia Alabama Sports Live, and Georgia Alabama Sports Live has birthed Step Up the podcast. So we're all in the same family now. We're so glad you were able to join us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. You guys, I call you Eminem. Of course, Mike and Marty step up with Eminem, obviously. But yeah, it's an honor to be here with you guys. I tell you what, you're two of the guys that I really, really respect. With a high grade of gratitude from this area. You guys have been in the trenches and you roll your sleeves up. You led by example. You're servant leaders. And I've seen your work firsthand, so it's a privilege to be here on this platform.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching what you have done. You and Dale started Sportsvisions. How many years ago now, DJ?
21 years ago.
21 years ago, unbelievable. Started that with just a small show, and then you guys have expanded and expanded and expanded, and it has just grown. And you've picked up more markets. You picked up more opportunities to cover different things. And you have done a tremendous amount for sports, not only in the Chattahoochee Valley, but really in the state of Georgia and the Southeast as a whole. It's really been fun to watch.
Well, thank you so much for that. I tell you, it's been a blessing, and again, I have to give all the credit to my mom and dad when I opened my morning show up with, I'm Walter and Betty Jones's baby boy. And I was an only child and grew up in an apartment complex right behind Carver High School. And my mom and dad gave me more opportunities than I could think of to keep me busy. I was a Cub Scout. I played youth sports, all baseball, softball, basketball. I was just in a school patrol, safety patrol. Those were the things that they exposed me to and also took up my time. So, I have to give all the credit to them by exposing me to all of these great opportunities.
Absolutely.
That is a common theme in successful men in America, is having someone in their life that makes a difference in their life. My dad was the same way. He had these expectations for us, and we lived into them. And without those, I don't know where I'd be now. But DJ, I just want to say on the air how much I appreciate you. You make such a difference in so many lives of these young people. They talk about you. When you mention their name on the air, it just lights them up. And what you're doing, you're making a difference. And we just want to recognize that, man. You have helped so many people, two of us included. And God bless you for that. I'm so proud to call you friend.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that indeed. However, again, so many people poured into me, from coaches to school teachers, Sunday school teachers. Dale and I had, we were blessed. He and I, first of all, grew up as little boys together in the same apartment complex that I was just telling you about, right behind Carver High School. He actually was my next door neighbor, and he was the
Wow.
brother that I never had, the big brother that I never had. So we had the good fortune, although he was 3 years older than me, we had the good fortune of playing little league sports together. It forced me to develop a little bit quicker because my dad entrusted him to the point of me going, and wherever Dale signed up to play, the guys were his age and they were 12, 11 years old. And I was, 8, 9 years old. And so, I got my tail kicked in a lot of cases and struck out a lot, made a lot of errors. And, because I was playing with guys that were more mature and more developed. But boy, when I got time to play with guys that were my age, it made a huge difference. And I have to give credit to that part of my life of playing up and being exposed, like I said before, to so many great opportunities.
Yeah, and DJ, I want to go back and let's just talk about your upbringing and let's kind of fast forward now, maybe get to high school, and talk about your high school experience. I know you were influenced heavily by one of your coaches, and you still talk a lot about him today, but I want you to mention that and mention your influences coming up through high school, and then just take us kind of a little bit forward through your playing career from Carver to UGA and into the NFL. And let's talk about that a little bit as far as your background goes. And then we'll talk about a few other things surrounding that as well.
Absolutely, Mike. That person that you're talking about was my high school football coach, Wallace Davis. And although I've had a number of coaches, I was a pretty good baseball player, pretty good basketball player. George Williams, my basketball coach, he's still in the community and involved, and ran track. Coach Davis coached the track team as well. But yeah, he had just a tremendous influence on my life, on my upbringings and my early goings there too. My parents loved him. They trusted him. It was like going from one dad to another. He understood that I, valued what he had, everything he had to say. And it's a little different today because, I know that, if a coach tells you to run a few laps, or if a coach tells you that you did something wrong, I mean, there was no back talk back then. You had to take it. But today it's a little different. You have to do. I admire these coaches today. They have to work in different circumstances. But yeah, Coach Wallace Davis, man, he taught me that the principles of discipline, of hard work, persevering. Don't worry about what you don't have. We had a lot of situations where we didn't have the equipment or the weight rooms, or for that matter, even enough uniforms to dress out a varsity football team. But again, that was something that I didn't worry about. And you know what? Later on in life, it worked out that way because I was accustomed to just using what I had and not worrying about all those elaborate things. Now, they're great to have, and if I had my rathers, you would want. And in this case of what we do, you would love to have a great studio. You would love to have many producers and writers and all these people that attribute to your podcast and my radio show and television show and a magazine, whatever it be. But you just got to understand you only can control what you can control. And that's what Coach Davis was so instrumental with me in knowing and being diligent and staying in my corner, no matter whether I was at Carver High School or in the University of Georgia or in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Made you a lot more thankful, didn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, the hundreds of players that he tutored, mentored, coached. I'm just one of many.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Coach Davis has made a difference in a lot of lives. He was he's a rugged guy, but he had a heart of gold, and he loved his players. But I guess it was tough love. I guess you just didn't want to disappoint Coach Davis, did you?
Coach, you said something there that I don't think that there's when I was talking about the difference of back when we were playing and now, tough love. That was a part of it. The parents don't really understand it anymore. Certainly the student athletes don't. That's not a part of their deal. And really, our teachers and our coaches really have to walk on eggshells today. But tough love is, getting on you when you screw up, but also letting you know when you've done well, and through it all, knowing that they cared. And that was a part of it that, really resonated with me and my family as they supported me with all of, everything that Coach Davis and all of my coaches had, of course, they shined the light on me as part of my exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something about a male figure in a young boy's life that just fills a spot that no one else can fill. That's the unique thing. I was reading something today about the way that the people of baptisms in a church, that if your father if a young man sees his father baptized, there's a 93% chance he's going to be baptized as well. And that men, I think a lot of times we don't realize the importance of trying to emulate the right thing in young people's lives. I think sometimes we just do what we want to do, but we got to realize we're doing it, and young men are watching.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And in using the platforms that I've had over the years with regards to more importantly Sports Visions, and talking to the young student athletes, the coaches, the administrators, the parents, it's just something. It's a testimony for me to share with them that I was raised in the church, the Greater Beulah Baptist Church. My mom and dad were both very active. My dad was a deacon. My mom was a deaconess. And I had to go to Sunday school every morning. And again, I think that set the foundation of it all with me. And again, a lot of the things that have happened in my life, to be quite honest with you, it was a miracle. It was God, the bottom line, because coming from where I came from, you just don't go and do the things that I've been exposed to and had the opportunity to do. And that's anywhere from being drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates in Major League Baseball, to being drafted in the National Football League, to some of the corporate jobs that I've held that, again, I don't know how in the world I was able to, again, to sign up. It wasn't something I signed up for. It was just, God, he designed my steps, man. And, from working for Johnson & Johnson in selling surgical instrumentation, calling on operating rooms on hospitals from downtown Atlanta into South Georgia, to include the medical center in St. Francis back when I hung up my cleats back in 1989, to being a promotions manager with Mizuno based in San Francisco, and a major sporting good manufacturer, and being the liaison between the professional athletes, the colleges, as far as the people that wore our product and apparel, to a sports director at WRBL, to being a vice president of football operations with our hometown arena team, the Columbus War Dogs. And of course, Dale and I birthing and coming up with Sports Vision, this concept that started out as a television show, as you mentioned before. But again, having all of those skills that I brought to the table, a lot of people don't realize that, I'm an event planner more so than anything. And again, obviously the latest testimony that we have is our Female Athlete of the Year Awards luncheon that we do here at, of course, St. Luke, as well as our football, high school football awards. These are productions. These are not just something that's thrown together, but from the charity golf tournaments that we've raised hundreds and tens of thousands of dollars for, when you talk about the Anna Elizabeth Shepherd Home, as we are very much a part of a kickoff for a cause that's coming up next month with Kim Rozicki. I worked diligently in the early stages with the Alzheimer's Association as one of the hosts for the first 6-7 years. God has blessed me, again, in the broadcast area of broadcasting games, being an announcer, and being a talk show host, a television show host, an event planner, all of these things that represents what we do with Sports Visions.
Wow, you have done a great job of casting your bread upon the waters. Yep. And it has come back to you, hasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And keep in mind, I always forget to make mention of, but again, having the ability to network and being a decent person, you establish these relationships in these different cities, in these different towns, and these different places that I've been, that, I've been fortunate enough to book, A-list celebrity talent to come into our corporate community to the tune of Herschel Walker, Frank Thomas, Vince Dooley, Dominique Wilkins. And of course, those guys have all been here because of what I've been exposed to and what I've had the opportunity of of being around in my network as a ball player and as a sportscaster.
What a testimony. That is awesome, DJ.
Yep. And I want to go back. I know your dad, you mentioned your dad was a deacon. Your mom had you involved in church. And I've known all along that faith played an important role in that. And of course, this whole Step Up, Make a Difference podcast with Marty and myself, Marty's program that he's done with servant leadership for coaches and athletes is a faith-based program. And it's almost evident in anybody who is in the circles that we get to be around. It almost becomes evident who is and who is not a person of faith. You can usually pick up on it, especially when you're building relationships with people. And I knew before I knew, DJ, that you were a man of faith. I could just tell. There's things that you pick up when you talk to people, but the way you've gone about your business, the way you have recognized the blessings that have come around. You and I took way different paths, but I came from being a coach in this community that I'm sitting in right now, doing this podcast, visiting my in-laws over here in Alabama. My last coaching job was right here in this community, or my last public school coaching job was right here in this community. And a year later, I was working for the Olympics in a paid role in the Olympics, and I was running the scoring and results for an Olympic venue in the 1996 Olympics. And how does that happen? How do I go from being a coach in rural Alabama, and next thing you know, I am in the press box running the scoring and results for the softball venue in Columbus, Georgia, 1 year later? It's amazing. Yes. And there's no other answer, but God did it. I mean,
that's right.
God put me in that position, and God gave me that opportunity. And, that was kind of the springboard for me into the community of Columbus, in that first year. Herbert Green was a big player in that at CSU, giving me a job, giving me an opportunity, taking a chance on me. I was pretty unproven, and he took a chance on me and put me to work. And, the rest is kind of history. It's been a little different, and now I'm kind of back into this deal with broadcasting a little bit and getting to associate with you and Thrift and Richard and all the guys. And then Marty and I talked both years I was at Calvary. Marty and I talked about, we need to do a podcast. How many times on the practice field out there, Marty, do we say we need to start a podcast? And some of it was about being funny, just doing a lighthearted one. But then when we really got to thinking about it, putting Marty's program out there and talking about servant leadership and talking about doing things the right way, that was a whole lot more important. And that's kind of the door that God opened for us to be able to start this. And we're hoping to keep it growing, and having people like you with the name recognition that you have and the face that you have and the recognizable face that you have and name around helps us grow this podcast. And that's why we're so appreciative that you're with us today.
Well, I know what you guys are all about, and I know that you guys are great guys. You're great examples for our young people, and not just young people in our community that want to hear, some great direction, some great testimonies. Because I tell people all the time, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing with you what worked for me. And that's the best way I can put it. I've always said that, because again, as I rattle off these different accomplishments and these different feats, it sounds like, oh, he's bragging, he's boasting, he's talking about, but you know what? No, I'm not. I'm just sharing with you that, a guy from a regular little old spot, in Columbus, Georgia, did have some opportunities that I was just very fortunate enough to recognize and take advantage of based on some good upbringing and some good tutelage and supervision.
Absolutely. And it is, it's amazing what can be accomplished from a small start. Think about it. Think about it in the Bible. You go back to the Bible, look at all the characters in the Bible. How many of those people were established in the community that God took and used?
Yes.
Think about the big names in the Bible. Do you remember anybody being already a king or already a prince or already an established prophet or something like that? God didn't take those people. He took ordinary guys and ordinary women in their everyday role, and he was able to accomplish big things from them. And I love what you just said, DJ. You're not telling people how to do things. You're just sharing what's worked. And, you know, you and I think and I appreciate you having me on Sportsvisions radio show a little while back. And we were talking about this, and we were talking about how you get into some of this stuff and how you do things. And we, you know, the biggest thing I can say is I watch people. I've watched a lot of people, and I've observed a lot of people and how they do things. And I've been able to pick out and glean things from a whole lot of different places. And I use those things, and you put them together in a recipe. It's sort of like making biscuits or baking a cake. You get what works, you know. And when you hit that product that works, you're going, wow, hey, we got something here. We maybe got something that's going to work here. And so that's kind of what you do. You don't have to follow anybody else's blueprint. You make your own, but you pick the ingredients from all of those people who have poured into you, who have been in front of you, who you've been observing, and you sort of put that together. And I think that's exactly what you've done. It's what I've done. I believe it's what Marty's done. And if you listen to a lot of successful coaches, which, you know, we have this podcast kind of geared toward the coaching profession, they've done the same thing. They didn't come in knowing how to do it. They had to put together what they've done from all the years and from all the experiences they've had. And I think that's huge.
Dale, what do you think is the secret to being a successful coach? What would you, if you were going to advise somebody, you know, young coach comes up to you, what would you tell them?
You know, today is a little different than back in, back in the days when you were coaching and I was playing.
I agree.
Because, again, they have so many other things to deal with, you know, this whole social media and, again, the NIL, and it's just a different dynamic. So what I would say to a young coach is that obviously listen more than you talk, you know. And so what I mean by that is that, you know, you have a lot of help, whether you know it or not. So listen, and help is out there, you know, whether it's a parent, whether it's a former coach like yourself, you know, whether it's a person in the community that has played at every level like myself, you know, we're available. It's just you have to listen, and not that you have to do everything that we ask or that we suggest, but you have to figure out, okay, I'm a young coach. This is where I want to go. I want to produce young men. I want to produce successful, productive young men. I want to produce winning programs. Well, you know, the winning coaches that are in your environment, in your space, you know, if you don't know them, you need to get to know them. And if you don't know me, obviously, you know, again, there's other people like me. I'm not the only one has accomplished it. So, but again, I'm just telling you, I would share with a young coach, you know what, open up, leave your ego at the door, because it's not even about that. And I know a lot of people think because of where I've been and what I've done, you know, they can't talk to me. But obviously those people that know, that's the furthest thing from the truth. You know, I rarely talk about a lot of that stuff, and it's brought up, but it is what it is, you know, again. That's what I would share with young coaches today, because I see so many that think they already have it figured out. They don't take time to establish the relationships and the network that I think is necessary, because you can't do it alone. You can't even just do it with the coaches that are on your staff. You need people out there in the community. You need parents. You need leaders like yourself, Mike and Marty, you know, and again, you just got to be able to draw on a lot of different things. And that's what I would tell a young coach today.
Man, I think those are great words. Let me give you a crazy story about that too. My first year coaching, right? Back in those days, you know, we're filming with a video, you know, with like 16 millimeter film, right? 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter. You tape it up in a reel by this big around. You, after the game, wherever you're playing, you race to it was Nashville, Georgia back in those days.
Yeah.
And you sit there while they're developing your film and hope you get back Saturday morning by the time the coffee's on at 7. Right? So I'm the rookie coach. So they say, Durden, you go to Nashville. Here's the directions. No GPS, you know. So we play. Gosh, I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was Thomasville. And I get this film. I'm racing over it. I see there's 4 or 5 guys in there, right? So I give them my film. I sit down and start drinking coffee. There's this coach sitting there. And I start talking to this coach at 2 a.m. We talk from 2 to maybe 5. And he's telling me a few things, but man, I'm just talking. Oh man, tonight we had a big win. We had a trick play. We you ought to see that fullback try. I mean, I'm sitting there talking about all this. I'm coaching this guy, right? And somewhere in the conversation, I just think, with my ego, what's your name now? He said, I'm Nick Hyder. I'm the coach.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm talking to a living legend. I'm a nobody. It's 4:00 in the morning or whatever. It was a lesson in humility. And I learned that night just what you said. Shut up. God gave me 2 ears, but use them in that order,
That's pretty funny. That's a great story. And DJ, I want to bring up something else. Not only do you learn what to do from a lot of these people that you're in front of, but you also learn what not to do. And I think that's as important as learning what to do when you're trying to figure out what works, because there are a lot of coaches who are going to do things that you don't agree with, and they're going to use some methods that you don't necessarily you're not really comfortable with, and they may run their ship a little bit different than you would if you were the captain. So you can glean out of those things what not to do, but you can also get that fruit that's coming, there's the positive things to do. And I think that's as important to know as everything else. Just because Nick Saban did it this way doesn't mean I've got to do it this way. Nick Saban is, he's the man as far as that goes. And I'm an Auburn fan and through, and, but I have a ton of respect for Nick Saban because of what he accomplished and how he did it. But just because things work that way for Nick Saban doesn't mean it's going to work that way for me or for anybody that I know that's coaching. Mm-hmm. But you can pull some things from that will work for you if you implement them correctly. And but you can't be another Nick Saban. I have to be Mike Peacock. Marty Durden has to be Marty Durden. DJ Jones has to be DJ Jones. And we have to do it how God gifted us. And that's I think is very important, that you have to form your own identity. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And that's a great point that you brought out. We all, and whether we were young athletes or whether we were young coaches, or whether we're young business owners, obviously we're going to think that, we know how to do it. We got it figured out. But again, like you said, there's so much information and there's so much leadership. The people have already accomplished and done what we wanted to do, or what we think we want to do, that you'd be crazy not to listen, at least listen a little bit. But, I know that human nature says, okay, the baby, and again, you go back to the story with the little baby. You say, no, don't touch that. But they got to get burned. They got to feel that heat before they're going to touch it. And it works in the same way, is even more so with the grade A personality male student athlete or coach or leader. We think that, okay, we got it figured out. We've done it. But there are always, life lessons that you learn, or there's different techniques to do different things. And Marty, with all of your education and all of in your climb, you still are humble enough to, that it might be, the little guy that's standing, that takes care of the gym. You might take something from him, and you're humble like that because you don't know where, God is going to reach you. Who you're going to be able to get that message from. You don't know. Mm-hmm. So you have to listen, and what you do with all of this information, that sometimes decide on whether you're a success or a failure.
Right. That's absolute truth.
No doubt.
Some of the lowliest people, we don't need to pass them by. Sometimes they are the ones who make a difference in your life. And I see dozens of those kind of people in my life. It's not always a famous guy that I want to be like. It's Charles Sivitz, a guy who, when I was in Thomasville, who swept the gym floor every morning. And he made a huge difference in my life. And his life story was amazing. So anybody, you said it, 2 things. I want to go back to one of those. You said, listen, and then you used the word, DJ, relationships.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, to this day, guys, there's been a tremendous amount of support here. in Columbus and to help me. And you guys obviously you can see with the Sportsvisions 92.1 brand now with the radio station and the collaboration with, PMB Broadcasting and Jimbo Martin, who has been a tremendous partner in my journey. But, those are, people don't do things. I mean, the guests that I have on the show in this local market that are national guests. I mean, from Herschel Walker to Buck Bellew to you name it, it's a who's who. But all of those people, they don't come on my show because I was a butthead. They come on my show because they understand that I'm a real guy, and there's nothing phony about me. And what you see is what you get. When I see you, I'm gonna speak to you. And they enjoyed their encounters with me, whether they were teammates, colleagues, or whatever. And that's why I get so much support with this platform. And that's, again, with the teammates that I've had in high school, college, and in professional ranks, and even all the associates and the colleagues that I've had in my professional journey as a corporate, my professional corporate journey, it's the same. What you see is what you get.
It's trust. I would say this too. I wouldn't tell anybody how to coach either. I'm just like you two guys. We could talk X's and O's all night because it's fun. That's the fun part of coaching. But it's not X's and O's that wins games. It's just relationships. And so what we find we've surveyed, DJ, about 3,500, really maybe 3,600 now, kids, throughout the South. And what they want is a coach that overwhelmingly, they want a coach they trust. And that is the biggest thing I think that motivates players is they want somebody they believe in and who believes in them too.
Right. Absolutely. And then another part of that, as you're talking to young coaches and young players, and the platform that we have on the Sportsvisions Morning Show, it's a godsend because it's my name might be on it, but it belongs to this community in the Chattahoochee Valley because whether I'm talking to you or Mike, Coach, as we have done in previous weeks, the thing about listening and what draws the people in is that you don't have to talk down to them. We're just having a conversation as we're having now, and in somewhere in that conversation, it might be something that makes the light go off in their head. So we're not pouncing on them, or we're not calling them out by their names or saying that you need to do it this way or that way. But we're sharing our experiences, and again, in telling them, of course, between the three of us, from different walks of life. But we're all in a position now that we're proud of, and some of them and most of them want to accomplish a few of the things that each one of us have. So they're going to listen, and they're going to listen, and that's why, again, I think that's the carrot that obviously gets in there. And to talk X's and O's, to talk stats, to talk teams, I do that. I get it. I'm a sports talk show host. However, I've had the opportunity to play the game at the highest level. And of course, work in corporate America. So I got some life skills, life lessons that I can share as well because of course, my past in athletics. So that's the fun, and that's the joy, and that's the gift, I think, with God giving me this platform. I call it my ministry. And I'm ministering each and every time, each and every morning at 6 a.m. when that dial goes on. And as Richard will join me on Tuesday morning, that's what we do. I'm full of energy. I'm excited because, again, the good Lord has given me the strength and the breath in my body to wake up and help somebody start their day. 6 a.m. in the morning comes early, guys. And
it does.
That 3:30 alarm goes off. But you know what? It wasn't a burden. For a lot of years, I did an afternoon show, and it was easy, a couple of days a week. But this morning show that was birthed from this collaboration with 92.1 and PMB. Okay, by the way, we're the home of the Clingstones. Got to get that shameless plug in. But that excites me every morning. So when Richard and Thrift hit the studio, they probably say this old guy where does he get this energy from? But I'm just blessed and highly favored, and so thankful to God that He's given me an opportunity to not only help somebody, but to, of course, to establish a legacy in this community.
Preach it, man. I love that. Hey, you got me fired up just then. I want to get up 5:30 tomorrow.
Well, D, go back. Let's go back to coming out of high school. You're obviously a recruited student athlete, and kind of take us forward from there. How many schools recruited you? You chose UGA, and of course, we can talk about a little bit about your UGA career and then into the NFL. But kind of take us through that span of years there as you're going through that as an athlete.
Thank you, Mike, for asking that, because obviously my story is so different than most. Obviously, in the day of elite athletes and 4 and 5 stars. Yeah, I was an elite athlete. Yeah, I was a 5-star. I was all-state, all-American. But I played on a team at Carver High School under Coach Wallace Davis, a class of 1980, from 1977 to 1980. The 4 years that I played varsity football at Carver High School, 4 years, we didn't win 10 games. Okay. Wow. So that alone tells you, again, there must be a God for you to play for a program, that only won 10 games in 4 years. And you still, when it was all said and done, you were, the Ledger Enquirer Player of the Year. Again, you're the Golden Helmet Award winner. You're all-state, all-American, one of the most highly recruited players in the state, to include Herschel Walker and Freddie Gilbert, for those older guys out there that know. And I could have gone to any institution in the United States, was recruited by all the SEC schools, the Big Ten, the Pac-12. They've changed up now, but I could have gone anywhere. But I chose the University of Georgia because I grew up loving Vince Dooley, and my dad and I listening to the Bulldog football, and went there. And after losing, so much in high school, my very first year as an 18-year-old true freshman, was fortunate enough to be a part of a 1980 national championship team at the University of Georgia, and going on to win 3 SEC championships. So you tell me there's not a God that can turn that thing around if you do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
What a story.
That's a great story.
Absolutely. I mean, you flipped the switch on that one, buddy.
And then coming out of Georgia, you get the chance, the dream that so many kids have. I mean, tell me, when you were a little kid playing little league sports, and did you have that dream that one day you were going to be on a professional field and you were going to be a professional athlete? And how did it feel when that happened?
Absolutely. Not only did I have a dream or a feel or want to be a professional athlete, I wanted to be a professional broadcaster, because not only did I go out in the yard and emulate what we saw on television about the pro, and whether it was NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, I would go in and I would emulate the commentators, and with my grab a mom's brush, a mop, or anything that resembled a microphone, and get in the mirror and voice it out. And lo and behold, look at me. I've had the opportunity to play professional football, and I'm a broadcaster now. And again, it's just, again, if my testimony is not something that can touch you based on, what anything and everything that you've heard, then again, I don't know what will, because again, it just wasn't supposed to happen to me this way, especially both dreams as a youngster, wanting to be, and I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a pro football player, and I wanted to be, I wanted to be a professional athlete. Baseball and football were just 2 of my favorites, and I wanted to be a broadcaster. And lo and behold, that's what I've been able to do.
Well,
that's awesome.
A couple of things about that I'd like to say here. First of all, is you have not forgotten where you came from, man. Your success. You didn't get the big head and become arrogant. You remembered where you came from, and that a lot of people forget about that. And the other thing is you're thankful. And to me, it's a trait that we kind of lose in our society today. It's gratitude. But that's one of the first things I noticed about you years ago when we first met. Here's a guy who's thankful for his blessings, and God's hand is obviously on your life. So I just appreciate that attitude. Gratitude.
Coach, again, I appreciate you saying that. But, when you look at me, and the folks that know me, know me. But the folks that don't, I hurt just like you hurt. I have some of the same issues and problems, that other people have. Again, I lost both my mom and dad just a few years back, and that was my heart. But, again, I was able to, to rely on my faith to keep it going, to know that they're in heaven watching all of this happen. And again, if I was to do anything different, they would be disappointed because they set me up for this. I was built for this. They were my foundation. So, with that said, I just try to share. And again, no, I can't play any more ball, and I'm not going to win any more awards. But the bottom line is, I can pour all of what was poured into me, and I can help people like Richard and help people like Thrift, go after their dreams and their desires. And I can help, Rachel Barbeau is another person that came to work with me right out of college, and I gave her an opportunity. And there's others, but those are the kind of things that, I have to share these gifts. I mean, I'm getting a little long in the tooth, and what makes me happy is almost like, Coach, you having a kid that going to leave your high school and play Division I ball, or they might even go and play pro ball. Seeing the Thrift Behringers and the Richard Holdridges and the Rachel Barbeaus and others, to see them take their next steps after spending time with me when they were younger and developing and listening and understanding. Those are the true joys that I get out of doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
That speaks volumes of you, man. And gosh, being a mentor and having that tree, of people that you've helped to develop, that's a sign of a legacy. And you and I, Mike, we're getting a little older, as you call it, long in the tooth, I like that. But that's something we're getting to that point where that day's coming. God's going to take us all one day. Yeah. And I just I want to be thought of in someone's memory. There's old Coach Durden, there he lays, and that's what the biggest tribute that we can have is we made a difference in someone's life. A Thrift Behringer, golly, just look at that young man. You made a difference in Thrift's life. He embraced us, got us in under his umbrella. I think about the friendship I have with his grandfather, and golly, it just, relationships, all these networks like a web grow together. And the next thing you know, you see it. And I think that's a very gratifying thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And again, let me just say this to you. When, 4 or 5 years ago, when Thrift, came to the forefront of wanting to join Dale and I as a part of our Sportsvisions radio show, when I heard that his granddad was Larry Bush, who was my 8th grade basketball coach when we won the city championship, I was his point guard. It wasn't a whole lot that Thrift was in. He had to do a whole lot to screw that opportunity up, because I have such great admiration and respect for Coach Bush and all that he poured into me as well. And, so yeah, that's a little nugget there I thought you might want to know.
And here's another nugget too. Now, one day I get a phone call. There's a basketball game down at Baker Middle School. Larry Bush is playing. I don't remember who they're playing. And guess who's the guy who helped me officiate that game? Wallace Davis. Okay. So we walk in the gym. We call this game. And I look over there at Coach Bush. His hair is so, he's got that perfect hair, right?
Yes.
At the gym, everybody's going crazy in this game, back and forth, scoring all this. And his hair is just perfect. And I'm losing mine by that time. Wallace, we're going up and down, puffing and hollering. And I go up to Wallace and I said, "Who is that guy over there?" He said, "Well, he's a good fellow, Marty. That's Larry Bush. He's got a towel over his shoulder. Remember I used to have that towel?"
Yes.
Never got excited. And they pulled out a 1-point win. I can't remember many details, but that first impression I had of him was, I want to meet this guy. So he and I became great friends, and he coached with me at Brookstone, and made the boys at Brookstone still remember Coach Bush.
Yes. And again, just elaborating a little bit on family. Coach, you've been in this business a long time, and Mike, you've been around kids. It starts there. Normally, if a kid has good home upbringing, or have a grandmama or uncle, whoever it is that's supportive, they don't have to have a lot of money, just to know that they want to be in those kids' lives. Those are the ones that usually are successful. And I say that because Thrift has a fantastic family. I don't know Richard's family, but I'm sure that, he has, just a supportive crew as well. But, Coach, I know this is your show, but you have the wisdom and the knowledge here over Mike and I with regards to the longevity. what does having a good family, what does it, did it show you something in a lot of the kids that you coached?
Yeah, it definitely makes a difference. There's this asset builders. There's a surveying company nationwide, and they survey kids. You know, what assets make a kid successful or failures, right? And one of the big ones is the right kind of friends. You know, the right kind of friends you hang
Yes.
around. Another is teachers and coaches, and the third is strong parents, and especially male parents, a father. And that's what you can almost tell the difference in a kid who has a father who jerks him in, not in his tail when he needs it, loves him when he needs it, and the ones who don't. And I'm not. That is not a disparaging against mothers. I'm not trying to criticize them because God bless them. They're doing a job. They're doing the best they can in a society. You know, they're swimming upstream against that. But the strong family, the family unit, is the biggest thing in success or failure in young people's lives. Their family.
Absolutely.
So
And I think
a strong mother and strong father. And look, and here you said me too. You know, Mike too. So here we
yeah,
are.
in my years of coaching, if a kid, you know, a lot of the strongest kids that we coached had a strong nuclear family. Now, I'm not going to say everyone did, because we had some kids that had single dads and single moms that were raising them that were tremendous individuals all the way around, not just tremendous athletes, but tremendous individuals. But for the most part, the ones that had the strong nuclear family with a mother and a father that you knew cared about them and that were involved in their life, and sometimes regarded as very strict. And you know, DJ, you can probably relate to that. I know I can. You know, having a Baptist minister as a father, I had a very strict family. And there was, you know, I had rules that I had to follow. I had to toe the line. And, but I think, you know, some of the best people that were the most successful, and not necessarily maybe on the field, but the ones who went on to be tremendously successful in life after athletics, during both, you know, before, during, and after athletics, were the ones who had that strong nuclear family, or at least one parent who was involved on 24/7 in their life. And that's sometimes that's missing today. Sometimes they've got two parents at home and neither one of them are really involved in that student athlete's life. And, you know, they get a lot of their, what they learn from their coaches and their teachers. And hopefully they're not getting too much of it from their friends, because their friends are not ready to be that kind of leader yet. But, you know, it is amazing how that works out. And, you know, this is the way God designed it. God designed us to be a part of the family. And, you know, we're all a part of God's family, and He is the ultimate Father. But He gave us a mother and a father for a reason. And He charged them with the responsibility of raising them. And there's verses throughout the Bible that talk about parenting and talk about being a good parent. If it wasn't important, He wouldn't have spent time in His Word on it. And is what I believe. And you know, I believe that's huge in success. But DJ, let's go back now and real quick, because we're getting close on time here. But how did you guys, you and Dale, got together, and how did you guys birth Sportsvisions and come up with the concept and the idea, and how did you get it going?
Well, I had been involved in marketing and promotions, as I mentioned, with Mizuno, and I didn't make mention that I had been in management with a sports marketing company in New York City, Osher Sports. So I had, I had some other things. But when I came home and got involved in the sports talk radio, and I got involved into, sports as a sports director with WRBL TV3. Dale used to watch the show and supported me in every way. And again, one day he just called me up and said, you need more time. You need more than 3 or 4 minutes, guy. He says, we should do a sports show. And I said, okay, all right. And then a few years went by, and of course I left WRBL, and I was with the War Dogs as a VP of operations and of the arena team. And Dale says, what do you think? And I said, hey, let's do it. And we just basically started, right then and there. No equipment, no information. We just decided that we were going to buy some time at one of the local TV affiliates, and we've been with a lot of them around town. And we bought that 30-second and 60-second time, and we just created a show, and we created that concept, Sportsvisions. And from there, it took off because we just did and talked like guys talk about the game. We had our own style. A lot of people were impressed that we were so professional. We decided that we would dress up and wear suits because at that time, when you look good, you feel good, you play good. Yeah. And that's changed a little bit with the whole new way of kids and coaching and leadership. But that was how it got going. And from there, I was able to use Diamond Sports Marketing, which was another business that I started prior to Sportsvisions, where I was doing fundraising, golf tournaments, celebrity events. I was doing camps and clinics. I helped start Mark Upshaw and Sam Mitchell's Samrock Foundation camp, over 21 years ago, with visiting with Herbert Green and deciding that, and asking him on behalf of those guys, could we use the CSU gymnasium and other things, like I said, I made mention of the, with the Alzheimer's Association and of course, a lot of charitable organizations throughout the town that I was able to afford my sports marketing, management skills to help other people in addition to the media side.
Well, man, that's awesome. I feel like we're about to run out of time. I don't feel like we've uncovered about half the things I wanted to talk about. So
that's how it works out, man. When you have a good time, time flies.
It does, but you're going to have to come back. We'd love to have you back and talk. I would like to talk a little bit about more your sports career and professional. And I would like to. There's a lot of things that we could still. We're leaving on the shelf here when we leave. So, if you would, man, we'd love to have you back. Maybe when football season starts or somewhere. We'll be in touch.
It will be a pleasure.
Absolutely. Hey, and DJ, real quick, give us an update on Dale. A lot of people, may not realize what's going on with Dale, but give us an update on Dale. How's he doing? How's everything with him?
Well, I'll try to give this as quickly as I can. Back in 2020, Dale, when COVID came in, Dale had COVID and went in the hospital, and of course had to go on a ventilator. Had a stroke while he was on the ventilator, and it left the left side of his body paralyzed. And that's pretty much the same state he's in right now. But from the neck up, he's sharp as you could ever imagine. And he would know if he's met you before, he'd know who you were. And we talk about old times, but yeah, he's doing fine. And he's been to a couple of events that his wife and his lovely daughter, Amber, has brought him to some of the events that we've had over the years. And it's just great to see him. He's in good spirits. And he's doing as well as could be expected.
It's good to hear.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of people that may have known the Sportsvision show and been accustomed to seeing you and Dale might not have ever really knew what happened when Dale kind of wasn't there anymore. And just wanted to give them an update and also update that he is doing well, very well considering what he went through. And God is good, that's for sure. Because he's still able to have an influence. He's still able to have a testimony. He's still able to affect people, even though he is not quite as communicative as he used to be because of what he's gone through. But I tell you what, you guys set a standard for folks around here, and you showed that two guys from an apartment complex behind Carver High School could go a long way and do a lot of things. And I tell you, you have made a huge difference. And the thing I love about you and Dale and you carrying this Sportsvision torch forward is how much you care about this community and how much you care about the athletes, the young athletes in this community, because I don't think you would have done any of this if it wasn't for that right there. If you didn't have the heart for these kids and trying to help advance all of these kids, no matter what background they come from, you're trying to advance these kids and help them go forward. And what you do with your awards ceremonies every year, I've been fortunate to be at a couple of the football awards and then starting the female athlete awards. It is tremendous what goes on, and those kids look forward to it. And being able to have the level of speakers that you have had at those events, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you have brought some true celebrities from around the South in to speak at these things, an impressive lineup. And like you said earlier, it is not just something you throw together. It's a production. You have to plan this thing, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And you have help. I know you do, but wow, what a success it's been. I look forward to seeing more of those coming up. But I'm just, as a parent and as a coach and as a broadcaster and as a sports fan in the Chattahoochee Valley, being, I'm a native Alabamian and I'm, always be Alabamian by birth and probably will end up living back here before it's all over with. But, to see what you've done in the Chattahoochee Valley and how notable you are in the state of Georgia. And a lot of that comes from your career at UGA and then spreading Sportsvisions around the state of Georgia. I don't think there's anybody in the state of Georgia that don't know who DJ Jones is. If they are, they've been living in a hole, I believe. But what you've done and what you've done to promote athletes, coaches, sports in general, and supporting the communities where you've been a part of that thing, where Sportsvision has become a part of, is just tremendous. And I want to commend you on that. And glad we're able to be just a small cog in that wheel now with our podcast. And Marty and I can only hope to grow this thing and make it a force like Sportsvisions has been.
Yes.
I'd just like to end by saying, first of all, thank you guys. I love you guys. I love Columbus, Georgia, and I love what Columbus, Georgia has offered me. That's why I'm so diligent in my service to these kids and these coaches. But I have a lot of good community partners. I would love to have more. But thank you again for allowing me to tell my story on your platform, to share with you guys. And anytime you need me here, you just I'm a phone call away.
Well, we definitely want you back. And we want to also say that in your Sportsvisions things, everything you do, we would like to be a sponsor of a Step Up Award and let you select some coach who stepped up and made a difference in kids' lives every year and sort of recognize that.
That's awesome.
We'd love to sponsor that for you.
Absolutely awesome. And again, between Richard and Thrift and some of my other guys in the local on-air personalities and media guys, we'll definitely have a great choice or great selection for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. And hey, and DJ, one thing I've noticed here lately, you've taken up golf a little bit, huh?
You know what, man? I tell you that's a tough game, but I don't have the time to put into it and that's something that that little white ball is not moving, but you have to study that game and you have to have repetitions in that game to master that game, and that's not going to happen.
That's the truth. That's the truth, and that's one reason I'm still a hacker, because I don't have time to play it. But hey, I'll be anytime you need somebody to go whack it around with, who's just going to laugh with you and not at you, and I'm expecting the same treatment. Be glad to accompany you out there, man, because I have a lot of fun. That's one of the releases that I have is getting away to play some golf every now and then. But even though I'm not very good at it and it frustrates me, but hey, it's a great game and it's something I plan to play until I can't walk anymore. So
I'm going to take you up on that, Mike. I'm going to take you up.
I hear you. Yeah. We need to do that. But
you'll be a good threesome out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Three old guys. Only one of us has got hair. but anyway, but hey, thanks again, DJ, for being with us. We're going to wrap this episode of Step Up, and DJ, we're gonna hold you to the fact we're going to have you back because, like Marty said, we really kind of only scratched the surface today, and there's a whole lot more we can talk about, and we want to have you back for a future episode of this. But for everybody, for Marty Durden, for DJ Jones, ladies and gentlemen, when you get the opportunity, and you see that opportunity, you see that crack there that you can step up and make a difference in somebody's life, be bold and do that. Don't turn that opportunity down. That's what we're all about here. And you coaches out there, hopefully you are gleaning some things from all of these different people that we're talking about and the people that we've talked about today to pick up something that will help you become a better servant leader and produce better servant leaders down the line in the future in your players. But that's what we're here for. But folks, be willing to step up and make a difference, and you'll get the rewards for it. And we just praise God for the opportunity of being able to bring this to you. And DJ, thanks again. Marty, have a great week, my friend, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.